We need to restore a society of greater liberty. Now, maybe you've listened to me talk yesterday and today. Maybe you've not heard these kind of views before. Or maybe you had heard some of them, but I would hope that perhaps if you had heard some of them, the way I presented some of the ideas sort of added to or enriched or amplified some of the things that you had heard before. And let me just make the wild hypothesis that you found some of these ideas interesting, compelling, maybe persuasive. So how do we move towards a society of liberty? How do we move towards a society of liberty? Well, I think we have to accept the fact that the only way we move towards a society of liberty is one person at a time. You know, sometimes when I give talks like this in front of audiences who already are knowledgeable or sympathetic towards these free market, classical liberal views, someone will say, yeah, this is great. How do we get organized? We need to have an organization. Well, you see, their presumption already is that there's a central plan for liberty. And there's not. The reason there is not a central plan for liberty, because there are as many ways of persuading others about the case for a society of greater freedom as individuals to be persuaded. And who knows if you find these ideas compelling? Who knows better how to express them or explain them to your friends and neighbors in a way that might be persuasive to them than you? There is no way to spread liberty other than each of us taking the responsibility to learn a little bit more about it, appreciate its significance and value, devise ways to explain and articulate it, and one person at a time to influence those around us and change the climate of opinion, the ideas in the society. When I was president of the Foundation for Economic Education, I recalled that I had attended one of their seminars many years ago, about the time I was your age. And I remembered a lecture that I heard from the then founding president of the Foundation for Economic Education, a man named Leonard Reed. And at one point in this lecture that Leonard Reed gave, he asked the person in the back of the room to turn out the light. And so now the lecture room was in total darkness. And Leonard Reed was holding in his hand one of those electric candles with one of those dimmer switches on it. And from the electric candle being off, he started slowly turning the dimmer switch, so that at first it was just like this little flicker of electric light. And he said, notice how all of our eyes are drawn to this electric candle in this room of darkness. And then he began to turn the dimmer switch more and more so that the little electric light on the electric candle became brighter and brighter. And he said, notice that as I turn the candle on more and more, our eyes are even more focused on it, and besides noticing its brightness, its illumination is pushing away the surrounding darkness the brighter it becomes. And he kept turning it on higher and higher until it was at full illumination. And he said, notice that we can practically see now everything in the room with just a few dark corners. And he said that that's what each person who discovers an interest and a value in liberty has to become. A light of liberty. What determines your illumination, your brightness? How much you have taken these ideas seriously and chosen to think about them, read about them, study them, and through conversation and trial and error, learn how to explain and articulate them to others. And Leonard Reed said that to the extent that each of us becomes a light of liberty, and with a degree of illumination, there's one light of liberty, and another light of liberty, and another light of liberty, until finally the world is filled with so many lights of liberty that the darkness of abusive and powerful government control is pushed out of the society into the dark corners. And man will have liberated himself. Now, this teaching of Leonard Reed's about spreading the ideas of freedom is no different than most of the teaching of the great faiths and religions. You want to bring someone to God. How do you do so? Most great religions say that you have to do it through an act of free will. So how do you get people to accept your faith? You reason, you persuade, you argue, you explain. You try to live a good life as an example to others of a better way for them to live. And how do you change people? One person, and in that religious sense, one soul at a time. What Leonard Read was emphasizing is that there is the need for a social and political change in society. An illumination of freedom in the human world here. But to do that, it is the same thing. One person at a time, through the improvement of your ability to reason, explain, and give an example in your life. And at the end of the day, that is the method that will win. And the society in which you live can be a lot more free. Because the society that is free is the society that ultimately is both good and just. Thank you very much.